Hello friends, for today's video I wanted to go through some changes that YouTube is going to be implementing come May that are going to very negatively impact a lot of creators, especially a lot of smaller creators. I'm going to start by going through what these changes are. I am going to try to be as clear and concise as possible, which does mean that I'm going to err on the side of over-explaining, but I just want to ensure that for anybody that has no idea what goes on behind the scenes, has never taken a peek behind the curtain when it comes to the creator angle of things, I want to ensure that you feel like you can be a part of this conversation and that you can keep up. And then from there, I'm going to transition into discussing how this negatively impacts specifically the community that I'm a part of. Of course, this isn't going to be specific just to booktube, but a lot of people, if you watch smaller creators from other niches, you can very easily take the concepts that I'm going to be discussing and apply those to those creators as well. Jumping into the changes though that YouTube is making. The first thing that I need to establish are the different kinds of ads that can be placed within and throughout YouTube videos. So there are the very obvious ones that when you first click on a video, you will have an ad appear sometimes before the video starts. You do also find that sometimes when a video completes, sometimes ads will appear at that moment as well. Then there are ads that are known as mid-roll ads, which as the name implies, these are ads that appear at some point throughout the video. There has always been an option to allow YouTube to automatically place the moments where these ads can occur. And just because these ads can occur doesn't mean that they always will. So sometimes you will have creators that they don't bother manually putting in the mid-roll ads themselves. They just let YouTube's technology put it in for them, which is why occasionally you will find that you'll go to click on one of your favorite creators' videos and you will be getting ads every minute, it feels like, and it feels very different from what you typically have. And that's because sometimes YouTube's technology in the past, or probably even likely up through this point, it has just randomly placed all of these moments these ads could appear, and sometimes it does place those every minute or so. And that is why occasionally you would have that occur. And you can even ask people like, why are there so many ads on your videos? And sometimes the creators will respond, I don't know, I don't put those in myself. You can go through and manually insert where the ads can appear for mid-roll ads. That is what I have always done. The way I have structured it is that you can't place, just to be clear, mid-roll ads on a video that is shorter than 8 minutes. Once it passes that 8-minute mark, you can put mid-roll ads in. And the way I've always done it is that I know as a viewer, I don't like when ads have the chance to appear every minute. So I have always structured it so that if my videos, let's say they're somewhere between 15 and 18 minutes, there are only 2 times in the video that there is a chance of a mid-roll ad showing up. So usually I have, even within those 2, there is a 5-minute at least difference between when those can pop up, because I do care about the user experience. I also care about being compensated for the work that I'm putting in, which is why I allow mid-roll ads to be placed in my videos. However, I hate the idea of that experience happening to somebody where mid-roll ads appear, so I always manually do it myself, and there's only 2 chances that an ad can even appear. When a video is much longer, and again, I'm speaking for myself, if I have a video that is somewhere between 30 something minutes to an hour, we'll say, because I do from time to time have really long form content here. When that happens, I will initially have the mid-roll ad possibility be, again, within that 5-minute increment at some point within the first 15 to 18 minutes. Then from there on out, it's somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. The longer the video goes, the further apart I put the ads. That's how I've always structured it, because I have always disliked YouTube's automated system. I don't think it's very intelligent. I don't think it's very intuitive. So I have always done it by myself. However, I absolutely understand that other creators, they trust it, or maybe they have had good experience with the way that it's automated, and so they don't bother changing it. They just let it be. YouTube now has decided that it doesn't want to have to risk there being what they're calling interruptive ads. And the idea of interruptive ads is already ironic, because all mid-roll ads in some fashion are interruptive because they're appearing in the middle of a video. But regardless, they want to decrease the amount that ads are interruptive throughout the course of mid-roll ads. And so they're deciding that what they're going to do is, come May, any ad that is on any older video that is considered interruptive is no longer going to play. So a few different things that we need to discuss here. I'm going to start by talking about what they consider interrupted, because this is the core of the problem right now. I am all for YouTube trying to do what it can to enhance the user experience. I don't necessarily think that most creators or viewers of YouTube would point to this as their first and top priority. I think there are plenty of things that people can come up with that would make the YouTube experience better, but I digress. The reason that this is so frustrating is because I'll use my, once again, videos as an example. I recently have tried to allow their technology to find moments themselves and let it be automated, because the way it's starting to work is that they're slowly rolling this concept out. And again, we are going to have to go in a couple different directions here. So currently, this is not something that every creator has even seen or been introduced to just yet. But I was looking for myself. They are trying to slowly introduce creators to this so that come May, it's not this big surprise and that they'll have already adjusted and gotten used to it. And I'm fine with there being adjustments. If I need to do something on my end, I will. However, the problem lies in the fact that their technology has decided that throughout the course of an entire video of mine, there's not a single moment where a mid-roll ad could play. It's decided that every single moment would be considered interruptive. It makes it sound like, when you look at the explanation for how these work, is that, okay, if our technology can't find anything, you can opt out of having it be done automatically, and you can still continue to manually insert mid-roll ads if that is your preference. So that's what I selected. As I said, I've always preferred to have there be a very minimal amount of chances of there being mid-roll ads anyway. So I thought, I've always done it manually anyway, I would rather do this myself. And when I've tried to place things by myself, it still decides that everything is interruptive. So when I try to find those moments where I take a pause to take a breath, or I have already even inserted some kind of transition, or I am thinking for a second, whatever the case may be, I try to place mid-roll ads in those moments, and it has still declared them interruptive. And I thought, okay, maybe I just need to put in more overt transitions. So I do from time to time have some kind of little fun transitions or edits in my videos just to enhance the overall video experience. And as an example, I'll go ahead and insert some kind of transition that I have used in the past. Okay, so that was not considered by their standards to fall under non-interruptive. That they have decided, their technology has decided, sorry, those are interruptive even in those moments. And that's, so I figured, okay, maybe the reason it's considered interruptive is because there's still an image on the screen. Let me try to do some kind of fade to black transition, so that way, even though it'll last essentially the same amount of time as the other transition, maybe because there's nothing on the screen for that moment, that second, let me try to edit my videos in this way, because once again, if I need to make the adjustments on my end, fine, I'll do it. It's frustrating. It does mean I can't be quite as efficient, and I value efficiency because I make a lot of videos and I do a lot of editing and I do it all myself. But fine, it's not that big of a change. If I need to do some kind of fade to black transition, it's not that interruptive for the viewer, and it still allows for mid-roll ads to possibly play in those moments. So that's what I did for a few videos, and it still decided that those moments were interruptive, which means that essentially all of the videos that I make do not have moments where mid-roll ads can appear. And come May, as I was starting to state before, there are different directions to go here, and this is the next direction. Come May, not only is it going to be where mid-roll ads won't appear on the videos that I'm putting out past that point, they're no longer going to play mid-roll ads on any of my videos all the way back, and I've made hundreds. And I get that certain videos, they don't necessarily have evergreen quality. They're not the kinds of videos that people are going to watch outside of that place and time. However, certain videos of mine are evergreen. Certain videos are parts of video series that people might go back. So for example, I have started a video series called From Readers, and I've made, I think, at least 10 or more of these videos. They're very long, in-depth videos, and they're a little bit more conversational, as are most of my videos anyway. But regardless, they're very, very time-intensive videos for me to make, for me to edit. And then the idea that those videos are now not going to have any mid-roll ads play on them is, in my opinion, absurd. And I know I'm not the only creator, and I will go into the money side of this as well to give you a peek into just how much of a dent this is going to make. Because trust me when I say, I can't stand when influencers, I hate that word, but whatever. I don't like when they're like, oh no, I'm not going to make as much money. That frustrates me as much as the next person, because I'm like, boo-hoo. Because sometimes the people that are crying the most are the ones that are making the most amount of money. So trust me, I will go into the specifics when it comes to the money side of things, and the reason that this matters so much to me is, as I said, this is going to more than anything affect smaller creators who are putting in the work, who are hustling. They have a genuine care and passion for the things that they're discussing. They probably haven't reached the top purely because they are authentic and they are genuine and they aren't doing all of the things that are just popular and clickbaity. They are doing content that maybe isn't as mass appeal, and they're doing it because they care about what they're talking about. I don't care if YouTube is trying to claim that this falls under the umbrella of enhancing the viewer experience, because I think that this is going to result in a few things. I think you're going to push away, and this is the sort of third point that I was making, you're going to take away any incentive there is for a lot of creators to pursue having their passion turn into a viable career option, which is the kind of creators we want having this be their career. Most of us do not want to watch people that we feel like they're just making whatever they can to make money. You are decreasing the incentive for passionate people to pursue their passions on this platform. You are also incentivizing them to likely create more short form content. I think there is a place for both kinds of creations. You need short form content and long form content, and I think both serve a purpose. They serve different purposes, but they do both serve a purpose. However, if you're going to make it so difficult for people to earn anything from the work that they're putting into the videos that they're putting out, if you're going to make it that difficult for them, you are basically pushing them towards making short form content that's snappier and faster so that you don't have to worry about this. You are also making it so that we have no say in the content that we have had up for years that have helped make this platform what it is. Going back to the idea of there being ads that are just not going to play on all evergreen content, I think I would feel differently towards this change if it was all videos that are posted past the May date. If all videos past that point are no longer going to have quote unquote interruptive ads playing, then I think that I could try to have, even though I already discussed ways I've tried to edit videos so that there is even a chance for a mid-roll ad to play, I can try to maybe on my end figure out a solution moving forward. However, the fact that they are having this go across everything, and you're basically making it so you don't have to pay me and all other creators for all of the content that we have posted in the past, that I think is where I'm like, no, this is just you not wanting to pay the people who, as I said before, have made this platform what it is. And because this so affects so many of my friends and so many people here on BookTube and people who are passionate about smaller niches in general, because this is negatively impacting so many of us, this is part of why I'm so frustrated about this. Now, to discuss the money side of things, and this is a topic that I think a lot of people like to shy away from because money is a very uncomfortable topic, and I understand. For me, just to clue you in, when I talk about how this is going to negatively impact a lot of creators, and it's going to negatively impact a lot of the creators in my community, in the kinds of videos I make, while I'm not, of course, among the top of this community, I do have more subscribers than the average booktuber, and I'm going to show you how much AdSense I earned last year making, on average, at least 3 videos a week, and I was always very consistent. I post these at the same time on the same days, and I don't necessarily hardly ever miss uploads. I don't really take days off. I post a lot, and you're gonna see that even with the amount that I'm putting out, and even within my community having more subs and more views than the average person, I still have hardly made anything. So that should clue you into just how little other creators make, and also how much all of us are now going to be negatively impacted by this. Because even if it's not going to ultimately affect our entire ad revenue, it's still going to make a heavy dent in it. And I know for myself, this is my career. This is what I do full time. And I'll go ahead and show you on the screen, not a topic I like to dive into for the general public, but here you go. I made, and to give you some additional information, I live in the United States. Specifically, I live in the state of Arizona. And the amount that I made from YouTube AdSense last year was about 2/3 of minimum wage. I do every so often take a sponsorship from Book of the Month. I also have a Patreon. So with those two things combined, I was able to get the number a little closer to making minimum wage. And this is minimum wage with no benefits also, because I'm self-employed, and it's not just no benefits as far as health insurance, vision, all of those things, but also that means I have no vacation time. I have no days off. If I want to go out of town and if I want to ensure that the algorithm isn't affected, I have to not take days off. Actually, what I'm doing is just redistributing when I'm doing that work so that I can ensure there are still videos that are going to go up when I'm out of town. And as I said, I am considered one of the bigger creators. So if I'm one of the bigger creators and that's how much I'm making before it's removing all of the mid-roll ads on all evergreen content, and before it's going to make it that much harder for me to even earn revenue from the videos that I'm putting out, then imagine what this is doing to smaller creators. What I am trying to figure out for myself, because I do care very much about this profession. I wouldn't have done it for so many years for so little money if I didn't. But I am trying to think of solutions. One solution is take more sponsorships. I don't want to do that. I have already over the years decreased the amount of sponsorships I take. As I said, last year was from Book of the Month. I did that a few times over the course of the year, and that was it for that sponsorship. But I don't like taking sponsorships because most of the time the content has nothing to do with what all of you are coming here for. And also, I think it's ridiculous if I'm allowing YouTube to play ads on my videos and then I have to take ads also into the equation from other companies so that do you know what I'm saying? Like, I already am making videos and allowing YouTube to play ads on my videos, and they pay me so little from that, and they pay creators in general so little from that, that then you are forcing them to not only accept this, but then they have to seek out and accept sponsorships so that even more ads can play. I don't want to do that, and I don't think that's what most viewers want either. So this idea of like, oh, well, it's gonna enhance the user experience because it's going to make mid-roll ads less interruptive. No, you're going to force creators who do really still passionately want to discuss the things that they care about, you're going to force them to insert, because I've taken sponsorships before, I know how it goes, you're asking them to now insert 60 to 90 second integrations for products that most of the viewers don't care about. Most viewers don't need to have a website. Most viewers know what a VPN is at this point. Most viewers know about various different food delivery services. Most viewers know that adult toys exist. And that's not necessarily what a lot of viewers are coming to the videos for, but that's why I'm saying I don't want that option. And maybe I'm being stubborn, but I'm like, no, I don't want to have to take more sponsorships for things that I don't care about, and I don't think all of you care about either. So I am pretty much putting my foot down on that option, saying for me, no. If other creators do, I understand. But for myself, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Another option is, as I discussed before, I just try to find really overt ways to have there be awkward pauses in my videos so that there's a chance a mid-roll ad can play in that moment. And once again, I'm like, how is that enhancing the user experience? It's not. It's not enhancing the creator's experience. It's making things run less efficiently on my end. And it's making it very overt for you because let's say a mid-roll ad doesn't happen to pop up. Because as I said, just because there's the chance that it can doesn't mean it always will. So now you just have an awkward gap in the most random of moments throughout a video. And because the kind of content I make is a book review, I'm trying to deliver the information in a way that is helpful and informative. Now you're going to force people to sit through like an awkward gap in the middle of a sentence instead of just allowing the creator to just have the possibility of something popping up that they can probably skip anyway. That's the other thing, is most of the time you can skip these stupid ads. So this is very, as you can tell, this is so aggravating to me, because it's just such a clear indication of YouTube not wanting to have to, or by my estimate anyway, I just don't think YouTube wants to have to pay creators for past videos that they've made. I think they're trying to make it harder for creators to continue down the path of long-form content, because I think if I were to see a behind the scenes, there probably is some kind of push for short-form content so that it can be competing with TikTok, so that it can be competing with Instagram Reels. They've already been trying to compete in those areas, but I can only assume in that area, so I probably shouldn't continue to go down that path. To recap and refocus here, the first two options we've gone over is to take more sponsorships, not really an option I want to pursue whatsoever. Second is to have the more overt moments throughout videos where mid-roll ads can play. I think that sounds messy and stupid. I also think that there's going to be too much emphasis while I'm filming, thinking about, oh, where am I going to have there be a pause naturally so that something can, I just think it sounds dumb, and I really don't think it's going to enhance anybody's experience with YouTube, but that is an option currently. The third option, and the one that I think gives me the most control, gives you the most control, and gives the most stability, and this is true for other creators as well, is to do more for my Patreon. I have a Patreon. I've had a Patreon for years. I don't typically talk about my Patreon. I'm not, you'll notice in my videos, because I hate the commercial side of things, is that I don't say, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out my merch, because I don't do merch. Anyway, I have merch for my charity channel, which, as you can imagine, this has thwarted pretty much all plans for that channel, because I have had that channel for years, and it is dedicated to all the AdSense revenue goes toward charity. It's all long format. But if YouTube is going to be this picky about what is considered interruptive, then I don't know if that channel is basically going to make any money. So all the money that I would typically make from World Hoppers, is that channel's name, I'm probably not really going to have that be a thing anymore, which I'm like, but that's for a good cause. That's for charity. So I don't know now what I'm even going to do with that channel. And also, any evergreen content on that channel is now potentially going to have mid-roll ads removed, which is going to negatively impact the amount that it's made. And it doesn't make that much anyway. But the point is that I have merch for that channel because it's more of a concept. Here on this channel, part of why I don't do merch is because I don't feel like marketing myself and making myself in any fashion a product. I want the core of this channel to always remain what it is, which is having reviews for books and uplifting authors and having conversations about trends and what's going on in publishing and what we want to see more from the genre, or what we want to see more from in general when it comes to the stories that we're consuming. I want to maintain that as the core of this. I do not want to turn it into a marketing machine to just make money. That's not to dismiss the creativity that a lot of other people put into their merch. I just, for myself, don't really want to have merch be a huge option. But returning to the point, I was saying that you will have noticed if you watch my videos consistently that I don't say, don't forget to like and subscribe, check out my merch, and don't forget to click on whatever, because I'm not really taking sponsorships anyway, so I'm not telling you like, go click on this. And I do have affiliate links in the description bar for your convenience more than anything. You'll also notice that I don't really try and encourage you to use my affiliate links. I'm not telling you like, oh, it'll really help out the channel. I hardly ever bring up anything to do with money because I don't want to, because that's not what you are all here for. And I'm uncomfortable. I think most people are uncomfortable talking about this kind of stuff, understandably. And I also don't in any fashion want people to feel bad for me. That's the other thing too, is it's like, I know that most people's reasons for coming here are the topics I'm discussing, not necessarily me and my personal life and how much money I'm making. So I don't want that to be what this is about. But because this is going to do more than just impact me, this is going to impact all of the community that I care about and my friends who I care about, who for some of them are people who are trying to make this their job. This is going to affect them, which I think in the long run is going to hurt books overall, because we already are seeing there, yes, is a lot of book talk creation, certainly, but I think booktube is significant and important in its own way. And I think the conversations that we have on booktube are important in their own way. And I think that it does provide a lot for a lot of people. I just did a video not that long ago talking about how growing up, I had a very difficult childhood and stories were part of what saved me. So I feel like the fact that we are more open and able to discuss stories in a way where people can pursue that as if it's like they're a self-employed, almost like publicist in a sense. I think that that's a net good, but you're taking away the incentive for people to make that kind of career for themselves. So anyway, I'm not typically trying to like point to like, oh yeah, check this out, huh? But I have had a Patreon for years. And the way I have my Patreon set up, I have many tiers so that whatever you feel comfortable donating, you can select that tier. And the lowest tier is $1. And for years, my friends have always said, you should make that bottom tier higher. And I'm like, no, because if somebody is going to give me any money whatsoever and all they can afford is $1, I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing. And I am able to do what I'm able to do because of all of you anyway. Of course, every creator is going to go about their Patreon differently. The way I go about mine is that I have a number of different tiers, and every tier has access to the same perks. The reason I have it set up this way, it might seem counterintuitive. Most of the time, you would think that the more money a person is contributing, the more they have access to. But I don't like trying to uphold this idea that the more disposable income a person has, the more that they get to have. I don't like creating that kind of system. When I used to teach private violin lessons, that was my full-time job before. There were times where some students who really loved to play and they absolutely loved lessons, their family would end up sharing with me that they could no longer afford lessons, and I would say, don't worry about it. And I sometimes would either deduct the price or I would just teach the kid for free because I was like, but I remember being there and that was so important in my life growing up. So I would never want this child who has such a passion for this to not be able to have this opportunity just because the family is falling on tough times. So even though Patreon is not the same as violin lessons, obviously one requires a lot more skill on my side of the equation, I still feel like I just can't find it in myself to force that from anybody. If you are willing to donate more, I think that's incredible. I do not want to restrict anybody from having additional access to perks, though, because of the amount that they can give. I think it's incredible that anybody would be willing to give me anything anyway. So the kinds of perks that I currently have on my Patreon is that I do have early access as often as possible to as many of my videos as possible. And that way you can view them early at your convenience. And then if you comment on those, I try to always get back to my patrons' comments if they are commenting on those early access videos. I also do sometimes patron exclusive videos. And sometimes the patron exclusive videos are specific to books that my patrons are buddy reading. So there is a Discord with the most wonderful mod in the world. He is amazing. And oftentimes they do polls. So sometimes they are reading through various series and sometimes they are reading fantasy standalones. They read about one standalone a month and they vote on that. If it's a book that I haven't yet read, I do try to pick it up, especially if it's something that I have easy access to through my library or local bookstores. And as an example, I did a video for A Study in Drowning for my patrons. I did a video for The Starling House for my patrons. I do sometimes, if I feel like the book that has been picked up isn't necessarily particularly popular, sometimes I will read the book because of my patrons, but then because it's not as popular and I want as many eyes on that book as possible, I will then make a video for this channel. I did that for the book Race the Sands, and technically also for Queens of Renthia. Queens of Renthia wasn't a part of the patron read-along, but it's still by the same author, and I felt like both those works by that author deserved more attention, so I made a video on this channel that was prompted by them. I also, whenever I do my From Readers video series, I always ensure I go through all of my patron responses as a thank you to them, and in general, when there's any kind of, I guess you could say, interactive video, I try to ensure that I am always as a thank you, for the same reason that I do that for the From Readers, that I try to incorporate their feedback and their responses. I am going to try, moving forward, to do more for my patrons because one, they're the reason I've been able to do this anyway. Yes, I have made more from AdSense than I have from Patreon, but it is through that additional support that I have been able to do this. The reason, if you don't know, and I'm not going to go into a ton of details here, but the reason that I went from full-time, I used to be a private violin teacher, to doing YouTube full-time is because during 2020, I had to stop teaching and I moved in with my father to be his caretaker. He passed away, unfortunately, that year. It was unexpected and the worst year of my life. But I couldn't necessarily go right back to teaching because for anybody who has ever built their own studio, you know that a lot of it has to do with the time that it takes to build a studio, the time that it takes to know exactly like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this child's house and then this child actually comes to my home and you have to really lock in everybody's schedules. I moved all the way across town. Even if there wasn't a lockdown going on, I couldn't have returned to that anyway. I'm not a fan personally of doing lessons through some kind of Zoom or anything like that. I don't think it's the best option, especially for people that are beginners where you really want to be able to correct everything that they've got going on. Anyway, point is, I then took this hobby of mine and I started dedicating pretty much all of my time to it. And I felt, okay, maybe I can actually make this my career, which I was making this my career. And I have put in a lot of time and a lot of years at this point into this. And that is what led to this being my career path, is that I had this passion and I already had this hobby set up. So I figured, let me dedicate all to this. So that is where that shift came into the equation for how this became my career. Back to Patreon though, I have done all of these various things for patrons up through this point. I used to do more so sprints on Patreon and that kind of went away, but I'm happy to do that again. I actually asked my patrons for their feedback. What are the kinds of things that they would like to see more of? So I'm definitely going to be brainstorming more ideas for how to make Patreon the best it can be because, as I said many times, it is because of their support that I was able to make this a career after my father passed away and I was kind of stuck starting over. That's what it was in 2020 for me, is starting over. And so I am always appreciative of everybody there, but also I would love it if I could, in general, do more for patrons because they're not some big company trying to soak through every creator as much as they can. They're not trying to just squeeze them dry and get every penny out of them. I might do a lot more via Discord as well and just be more interactive in general on Patreon, but I am very much going to be taking into consideration everything that everybody who has made contributions to this topic and who has informed me of what they think would make Patreon the best it can be. I'm going to go through all of those things and I'm going to try to ensure that people get as much from any support that they're giving me that they feel like their money's worth, that they get something back. One last thing I want to state and then we'll wrap this up. Even if you don't typically watch my videos, or maybe you like book content, but maybe I'm not the go-to person for you, this is going to negatively impact other creators. It's going to impact creators in other spaces. It's going to impact certainly the book community because the kinds of videos I make are not outside the norm for book content. Most of us are more conversational. Most of us are sitting down and discussing thoughts on books and topics involving books. So this style of video is quite common, and there are a lot of other wonderful creators on booktube who don't have 500,000 subscribers. There are a lot of really wonderful people who, again, all the things I discussed, if you don't typically watch me, don't feel the need to support me. Don't feel the need to join my Patreon. Don't feel the need to do anything involving me if I am not the person for you, if my channel isn't the channel for you. But these concepts will apply to your favorite creators. So maybe look into, do they have a Patreon? Do they have some kind of channel membership? Do they have something where if I want to support them, there is an avenue for that? That's it though for this conversation. I know it's outside of my usual. I do not like having to talk about this kind of stuff. I would much prefer to just lock in and read and make videos and edit videos. I would much rather do all of that. I don't want to talk about this kind of stuff. I don't think most of you want to talk about this kind of stuff, but I do think it's important given how much it's going to affect so many people that I care about and so many things involving books and the book community. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.